When I was little, this was my church. In fact, at the time, everybody attended the church, said a Caucasian middle aged, if not elderly, man at Berkeley Korean United Methodist Church in Oakland. It sounds like to me that trend has changed. Though slower than the United States, the decline of Christianity is now a visible trend, also in South Korea, where I was born and grew up. Now, I'm serving a predominantly Caucasian church in the Bay Area and seeing that trend more evident than ever before, even though we surely have some robust and thriving ethnic churches and new churches out there. Surely, spiritual but not religious is a culture of young group, especially in California. Why then is the church declining? Maybe more proper and critical question I need to ask as a pastor is why Christianity? Does Christianity still matter? Here I want to share my answers to the question so far, although my answers will be updated and revised as I continue struggling and learning in ministry in the years to come. I'm sharing this not because I have the answer or answers that will take probably a lifetime, but because I'm trying to make sense of my work, why I'm here, and why I'm doing what I'm doing. The question, does Christianity still matter, can be reiterated as, does Christianity have functional utility in our time? I want to point out three things I found in Luke's Gospel. First, Christian scripture gives us a narrative framework for our life. Everybody has a story through which we perceive and process what is happening to us. For example, some see US presidential election as a battle between socialism versus capitalism, liberal versus conservative, or whether US will remain the most powerful country in the world, or China or Russia will take over, or whether the stock market will go up, or whether US president will fulfill the prophecy in the Bible. That's their story, whether you agree or not, and everyone has one. Stories in the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, provides us with a distinctive narrative framework. That is, God of the universe created humans as well as other creatures and placed us in Eden. But we are driven out of the paradise, meaning world garden, and out of the promised land. Yet God sent Jesus to restore the broken world and relationships and invited us back to the kingdom, the reign of God. In the Gospel of Luke, when Jesus is crucified, there are two robbers hanging next to him. When leaders, soldiers, and a robber are scoping at him and demanding him to save yourself and us, Jesus remains silent. But when the repentant robber calls his name, Jesus, in Hebrew, Yahweh saves, and says, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom," he tells him, "Today you will be with me in paradise." I think this is the heart of the Christian gospel. God saves us by suffering with us and inviting us back to the paradise. The story of Jesus is filled with miracles of not only healing and exorcism, but also breaking social cultural boundaries of his time by inviting the sick, the poor, and the outcast. This Christian narrative, I believe, is worth reflecting on, redirecting our goals to, and even reframing our life around. Second, Christian faith gives us an ethical framework for our decision making. We live in the first 21st century, so-called postmodern world where people say there is no center and everything is relative. As much as I agree with this claim, I want to say that there are still differences, even hierarchy, between competing values and morals, as Jordan Peterson argues. Psychologists say one of the most important functions of the human brain is to ignore what's in front of us in order to focus on something that truly matters. I believe Christian faith can provide us with a proper framework or value system through which we perceive and process our lives. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus tells a story of a Jewish man who met robbers, got bitten, and was left half dead. A priest passes by him, and so does a rabbi. Then a Samaritan passing by sees the man, comes to his rescue, and provides him with the care he needs. Issues at play here are critical. First is religious regulations. Temple servicemen should keep themselves clean and thus should not touch the half-dead. Second is ethnic bias or pride. The Jews at the time hated the Samaritans because the former considered the latter mixed race. The answer to Jesus' question, which of these three was a neighbor to the man, seems a no-brainer. Yet, for some people, it was and is still not. Stephen Fratello, professor at religion at Boston University, says Christianity's main problem is sin and the solution is salvation. But I think it's deeper than that. The main issue is ethics, how to live, not just survive. Christian faith and ethics teach that human life and care for the needy have a higher value than religious regulations, national prejudice, and financial gain or loss. Third, Christian Messiah gives us an experience of ultimate power. Humans are religious beings. We worship. We desire a transcendent experience. It could be something or somebody we cheer and adore. If you wonder what it is, look at the fandom, not kingdom, for celebrities or sports teams. We go crazy when our national team scores in a World Cup match or when our favorite team wins the championship. That's a transcendent experience. But one critical element is missing here, that is, interaction. It's one-sided and there is hardly any response from the one we follow. But Christianity is based on the meeting with the one. In the Gospel of Luke, after Jesus was crucified, buried, and resurrected, two disciples walked to Emmaus. Jesus comes along and asks what they are talking about. Yet they do not know who he is. Then Cleopas, one of the two, tells him how disappointing it was to see Jesus die, whom he expected to be the Messiah. Jesus then explains to them from the scripture how it is necessary for the Messiah to suffer and enter into his glory. As evening comes, they invite him to stay with them, though they still have no idea who he is. When he breaks the bread, their eyes are opened and they recognize Jesus, but he suddenly disappears from their eyes. They say to one another, "Were not our hearts burning within us as he spoke with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us?" This somewhat surreal, if not unreal, story gives us a glimpse of what the Christian walk promises. Awe and wonder, inspired and aspired through the meeting with ultimate power, and urge and joy to follow even in the midst of fear and despair. This encounter and interaction with ultimate power, not one way, but two way, I believe it's worth trying and devoting our lives to. Thanks for watching.